Good morning, guys. It's Nick at Optima PS. I hope you're all well. Thanks once again for coming back to my channel. It really is very greatly appreciated. I can't express how grateful I am. As ever, please do like and share this video, guys. What I really like more than anything else is if you guys can ask me some questions in the comment section. Ask me anything you like. Tell me you like the video. Tell me you don't. Tell me why. I love to hear back and get the feedback because that's how I improve. So all that's greatly appreciated. Now, today, guys, we've got some really exciting news. I don't know if you've seen it. I suspect most of you have now. This sort of broke last night for me at about 2 a.m. I'm over in Asia, so I'm not on the US time. I'm just about the wrong side of the world for breaking news. But we've all been told that Grayscale have relaunched the XRP Trust. And I don't know if you remember, they did have one before, but they took it away from us back when the SEC began their lawsuit against Ripple, and they've just relaunched it now, which is exciting news. It's a very bullish piece of news. It's perhaps not bullish in the way everyone thinks, or maybe not as immediately bullish, in my opinion, as we would hope, but in the same respect, it can't be anything but bullish. They wouldn't launch this unless they saw that there was real demand for XRP. They don't throw money down the drain launching trusts that they think are not going to make any money. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to address what it is, how it works, exactly what it means to us, and why it's bullish, but maybe not bullish in the way you think. I'll explain in more detail. So just before we get into it, as ever, I am a financial advisor, guys. You know that by now, but I'm not your financial advisor. I couldn't possibly be your financial advisor without a whole bunch of paperwork and knowing all your inner details that I don't know at all, so I can't possibly give any financial advice, and if I tried to, it would be incredibly bad financial advice. So anything I say or do today is not financial advice in any way or form. It's just me, a guy on the internet, sharing some knowledge, sharing some information in the hope that it brings you some value, and I really hope it does. So going back to where we are today, then let's just take a look at the charts first of all. The markets have moved ever so slightly positively in most directions, but the big mover over the last 24 hours, you can see on the 24-hour column here, is XRP on the back of that news. We've got 3.75%. That's come down a little bit, actually, over the last probably 12 hours. When I saw in the middle of the night last night, it was something like 6% up. It has dipped down. I think it hit 57 just about. It's back now at 55.67. Bitcoin is moving ever so positively, 0.2% give or take up in the last hour. 24 hours, 0.3. It's sat at 58,000. So the world is making marginal gains. I think that's more about the fact that it was going to anyway, not related to this news from Grayscale. That's had the effect on XRP only, as you can see. So let's just jump into it and take a look at what this means. So this is just an article from Yahoo. XRP spikes 8% as Grayscale launches XRP Trust in the US. Like I say, that's come off ever so slightly now. But what they say is crypto fund manager Grayscale is launching an XRP Trust that could pave the way for a spot XRP traded fund, exchange traded fund, sorry, in the US, so an ETF. It's not a guarantee that this will lead to an ETF, but that is Grayscale's mission. That's why they launched these trusts. It's in the hope that they can get them through. There's kind of a 4-tier process to that, which I'll explain in a bit more detail. But let's go back into the article. It says the closed-end fund will offer accredited investors direct exposure to XRP. Grayscale previously offered an XRP trust, but dissolved it in 2021 following the US Securities and Exchange Commission's 2020 lawsuit against Ripple. That alleged the XRP token is a security under federal securities law. So Grayscale basically said, look, we don't want to get our hands burned on this. We're going to pull out. We're going to take this away from the ability to invest into it right now. We're going to dissolve the fund. And now, 3 weeks before the SEC's final point to appeal, they've launched it again. So is that bullish in itself? I think it probably is. It's not a guarantee that, I'm not saying Grayscale knows something we don't know yet, that the SEC aren't going to appeal or anything like that. But what it means is Grayscale are now confident enough in the fact that XRP is not a security and they will not be sued by the SEC for offering it as a security, that they're prepared to jump back on. The fact that we're 3 weeks away from the final appeal might be a hint. Not that the SEC are or aren't going to take the appeal, but perhaps that Grayscale believe that the SEC are not going to take the appeal. It would seem odd to me that they wouldn't wait 3 more weeks if they thought the SEC were going to appeal and it was going to affect the the value of XRP. So I think they believe the SEC are going to appeal, but that doesn't mean they're not. So the article goes on to say, Ripple has since emerged victorious in a widely followed court case against the SEC, clearing the regulatory headwinds for the closely related XRP token. Victorious is it's a word that isn't entirely accurate, because to say victorious would sort of assume that they had 100% victory, and that's not quite the case. But it was a majority win. We're all very, very much of the opinion that Ripple came out with a lion's share of the victory there. So let's use that phrase and carry on. We believe Grayscale XRP Trust gives investors exposure to a protocol with an important real-world use case, said Grayscale's head of product and research, Rayhana Sharif Askari, in a press release. By facilitating cross-border payments that take just seconds to complete, XRP can potentially transform the legacy financial infrastructure. The trust functions like Grayscale's other single asset investment trusts and is solely invested in the token underpinning the XRP ledger. And it says XRP spiked 8% on the news, which it did. It's now come off a little bit again. We all know what XRP is, so we don't need to go into too much detail on that. But what does it mean for us? What is the trust? So on their website, this is just a Grayscale page talking about the trust. So this is the XRP Trust right now. The investment objective: Grayscale XRP Trust is one of the first securities solely invested in and deriving from the price of XRP that enables investors to gain exposure to XRP in the form of a security while avoiding the challenges of buying, storing, and safekeeping XRP directly. Shares, brackets based on XRP per share as indicated below, are designed to track the XRP market price, less fees and expenses. XRP is a digital asset, yada, yada, yada. So we know what XRP is. I don't need to go into that for you. So moving down here, this is just a bit of detail about the trust itself. Gives you the ISIN number, gives you the QSIP code. Performance fee, 0. So performance fee is where they would say, if we make you more than X% per year, we'll take a percentage of that on top. They don't charge you anything there, but they do charge a 2.5% management fee, which is significantly higher than an ETF. ETFs tend to be between 0.5 and 1% in the crypto world. In the outside world, in the traditional finance world, they can be lower than that, even maybe 0.3%. Some of the lowest ones from Vanguard, 0.2. So that's quite a high management fee. But what this does is this gives people the ability to buy into XRP who otherwise wouldn't bother. And I know that sounds strange, but I work in the traditional finance space, and I can tell you the number one objection to people going into the crypto world is no longer, oh, it's too volatile, oh, it's, you know, the old days we would hear things like, oh, it's all a scam, it's a pyramid scheme, it's a Ponzi, it's, you know, it's a bad investment. That doesn't tend to be the hurdle now. The hurdle now is more along the lines of, I can't be bothered to learn how to do it. I have to go out and I have to get an exchange account with a wallet on an exchange and jump through all their compliance procedures and send them a passport and link my bank account. And I don't want to have to do the due diligence on 100 different exchanges when I don't know which one's going to be right for me until I've researched them all. And people can't be bothered yet because this isn't big enough business. It's not big enough news yet. When everyone in the world is falling over themselves to get into the crypto, that's when people would do that. What this does is it takes away most of those hurdles, most of the pain in the ass side of getting into crypto, as the traditional financial people will see it. It is interesting. I mean, we don't consider it hard work to get ourselves an account because we've all done it. But if you're somebody who isn't overly tech savvy, if you're somebody who hasn't done the research, it's quite daunting getting into crypto. It's something I'm looking at to sort of find a way of easing my own clients into it without all this. And the ETFs are the perfect answer to that. This one isn't so much. So this isn't for you and me right now. Well, I say that's incorrect. It is for me. I'm classed as an accredited investor. I'm a professional investor because of my profession. This is only available to accredited investors, which typically around the world means they have a certain amount of money in their class as a professional investor because of the amount of investment they do, not necessarily because of the qualifications they hold. But going on to this, I'll talk a bit more about that in a bit more detail later. So NAV per share, the net asset value per share on the day is 4.85%. That's a good return. So that means it's gone up. If you take a look down here, it launched at $10.31 per share. it rose to 1077, 1081, down to 1073, and now it's hit $11.25. That big jump there is because the news only really broke yesterday. Certainly to me, I follow Grayscale. I follow the sector very closely because I'm personally interested in it. I follow finance as a grand sector because I'm professionally involved in it. And I found out about this at about 2 in the morning last night when my alarm started ringing to tell me that XRP had gone through the roof. Wow, had jumped up in value. It spiked in value last night. Through the roof is a bit of an exaggeration, isn't it? But so most people only found out this news broke. It seemed to break all across Twitter for me in the middle of the night last night, probably about afternoon time US, on the East Coast at least, I would say. But realistically speaking, that's just the value of the share. So the way this thing works is it currently has $259,903 assets under management, which I will tell you is an absolute pittance when it comes to investment trusts or funds or ETFs, anything like that. It's the tiniest drop in the ocean. When I look for my clients to buy into funds and ETFs, unless there's about $1 billion, I won't even begin. My initial question I ask is, what's the size of the FUM? If it's less than $1 billion, I immediately just turn away. I don't bother with anything less than $1 billion. Just because I like the liquidity that comes with a bigger fund and the fact that more people put their trust in it. So this is a very, very small fund right now, but it's only had a few days to go, so it will get bigger. The XRP per share is 19.99. So essentially what that's saying is one share of this fund buys you 20 XRP. The way a trust like this would work is there's normally a limited amount of shares and they won't issue any more. So an open-ended investment fund, they can always issue new shares of the fund. An ETF, same thing, they can always issue new shares of the fund. With this one, it's closed-ended, so there will be a finite amount of shares. Obviously, the more people that want to buy in, that will drive the price up. But this is only for professional investors. So what does that really mean? We'll get into it in a few moments, but this talks about Grayscale. So private placement is where we're at right now. Grayscale products first launched as private placements, allowing accredited investors, and that should read only accredited investors, to gain exposure through a familiar investment vehicle structure. Shares purchased in the private placements are initially restricted for 1 year. So again, this isn't open, normal, standard investments. You couldn't ring your stockbroker and say, buy me a few shares in this today. I want $10 worth. You couldn't go through and just find a way of buying this yourself with $50,000. You need to be an accredited investor before you can get into it. I'm more interested in the product life cycle here from Grayscale though. So this is their first point. So they launch funds or trusts at this stage. You can see here actually Grayscale Near Trust, Grayscale Decentralized AI Fund, Grayscale Maker DAO Trust, Grayscale Smart Contract Platform X Ethereum, so that means platforms other than Ethereum, Grayscale Sweet Trust, Grayscale Avalanche Trust. You'll be familiar with Avalanche. It's another crypto token. So they've already launched an Avalanche one. They did launch Bitcoin, XRP a lot earlier. Bitcoin and Ethereum obviously have already gone through this process. So XRP is just behind the times, but I suspect now XRP will push forward much faster than Avalanche, for example. I mean, we can take a look at the Avalanche one now if you like and just see a few of the details on that. So NAV per share is $11.91. You take a look down, same 2.5% management fee. Assets under management, 634,000. So this has got 634,000 under management, which isn't an awful lot more than XRP has got. And XRP launched 3 days ago. So that just gives you a bit of an example there. But if we go back, so back to that life cycle stage, because this is what I'm more interested in. So after private placement, we get public quotation. This is the bit we're more interested in because this is where we can get involved and where you guys can get involved. I won't be buying into this, by the way, as an accredited investor. I'd rather just buy my XRP. But Grayscale pioneered obtaining public quotations for unrestricted shares of our private placements. So basically, this is the next stage. What this means is once this has been approved, probably after about a year, for the accredited investors. They then go off and offer it to everybody. And then you can get into it by way of your stockbrokers, your investment accounts, things like this. Then they go to SEC reporting, where they report it to the SEC. Again, just going back one moment, actually, I'll show you on here. Is there anything we recognize on here? Yes, the Grayscale Solana Trust is at this next stage. So most people could go and invest into the Grayscale Solana Trust. Is there anything else? There's a few things. Chainlink are on there. Just Decentraland Trust is there. DeFi Fund, Filecoin Trust. So there's a few tokens you'll recognize that are further along this process than XRP, because it only launched a few days ago. I suspect they will fast track XRP as much as they possibly can. They'll get to the SEC reporting as quickly as they can. Now, at the SEC reporting point, you've got other things you'll recognize here. Grayscale Bitcoin Cash Trust, Grayscale Litecoin Trust, Ethereum Classic Trust, Stellar Lumens Trust, which we all are familiar with the fact that Stellar Lumens and XRP are very similar in their in the way they function, in the way they work. Obviously, we know the connections with the how they all began and things like this. I don't need to go into much detail on that. If you don't, then check out some of my earlier videos or just Google it. You'll find the answer really, really quick. And this one is Grayscale products are the first SEC reporting companies in the industry. The requirements of being SEC reporting exceed the standard of reporting already met by those products as over-the-counter markets public quotations, including heightened levels of disclosure, even greater transparency for investors and subjects. It doesn't really matter what that is. The stage after that is ETFs. We all know what an ETF is, and this is the end game. So this is Grayscale's product life cycle. So what this tells you is Grayscale are looking to go from here where we are right now through public quotation, SEC reporting, and to become an ETF. And I assume that is their ambition with all of these. Not all will get there, but I assume that is certainly their ambition with the XRP one. So this is definitely positive news. This is the first step along that cycle, if you like. It's the first step on perhaps a long road to getting that XRP ETF. And what it basically means is this is where Grayscale are aiming. We know once we get to the ETF stage, we've seen what they've done with the Bitcoin and the Ethereum ones. They tend to then drop these down to zero, and they will sell the coins held within this this trust and move those shareholders into their ETF directly. So that's when we get that period that Ethereum is going through right now, where the liquidity pumping back into the market drops the price a little bit. It's all part of the cycle. If you know it's coming, you know how to deal with it. But the reason we're looking at this is because this shows you that they clearly intend to push this towards an ETF, which is what we're really after. Using a quotation, this is about the regulatory side of it from the SEC, from the big banking world, from everyone who's been opposing crypto in general and XRP and Ripple over the years. This is something from Draper. First they resist it, then they sue it, then they regulate it, then they join it. That's the cycle as he saw it. First they resist it. We've seen them resist it, haven't we? We've seen them resist an XRP as strongly as they've resisted anything. Then they sue it. We've seen them sue it. Then they regulate it. That's the stage we're waiting for, guys. And this is another step towards that as well. We saw that Grayscale went out and sued them for not allowing them to move their Bitcoin trust into a Bitcoin ETF. We've seen Grayscale are prepared to go on the warpath against the SEC when they need it. So this is a good step towards that side of things. The regulation is coming. All the governments are talking about it now. It's happening in the UK. It's happening in the EU. It's happening slower in America, but the discussions are going on. It is beginning. It does depend on who wins this this big upcoming, I'm going to call it a contest. You probably know what I mean, but if I say that word beginning with E, that sounds like erection, then we we tend to find that YouTube don't allow me to push my video out to you guys. So I tend to avoid that because they think I'm talking politics, which I'm not. So this is but this is a stage of the process. So again, going back to that phrase, just one more time. First they resist it, then they sue it, then they regulate it, then they join it. And that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the regulation side coming in soon. Then we'll get our ETF. Then we'll still see the wobbles that we saw with the Bitcoin and the Ethereum ones, but we'll eventually see this open the door to wide-scale retail investment. But then I go back to to my original point that yes, this is hugely bullish news, but it's not that bullish. And the reason I say that is I could have been talking about any one of these coins here, any one of these all the way down the line. We know there's well, we've got here 99 plus pages and 100 on each page. There's tens of thousands of cryptocurrencies. And I could be talking about any one of these when it comes to retail market adoption, bull runs on the back of retail buyers. That isn't what XRP is about. XRP is about the utility side, the mass adoption from the banks, the institutions, the central banks. That's what we're here for. That's why I think XRP will do far, far better than any one of these other coins in the grand scheme of things. So it's hugely bullish for us for the short term. It's great news for those guys who bought this, you know, back in 2021 at the height of XRP's, you know, market price. And yes, it, you know, if we jump onto the charts here, let's just have a quick look. I always use TradingView more than anything else, but you know, we jump on here, we're at 55 cents right now, just below 56. We go to the all-time here in 2018, when this doesn't show the true price actually because of the way the chart works, but it was $3.80 something, wasn't it? If you bought up here, then this is great news for you because it might mean you're going to get back there much quicker now. If you bought up here, same thing, it's going to get you back to your entry price and hopefully into profits much quicker now. Is it going to be instant? Is it going to be tomorrow? No, I think you can see already. There was a little bit of sell the news already on this, right? It spiked and then it's dipped down again. People taking profits. That's the traders. That's not the long-term holders. But realistically speaking, it's another step on that road. Each small step gets you closer to the destination, and that's where we're at the minute. Where do I see this going? I think there will be more price action on the back of the news than there will on the actual impact of, you know, professional investors like myself buying this. Some pension companies, you might be able to access this through a 401k or through some pensions. Accredited investors can get into this. So your multi-millionaires who've got big investment portfolios might go, meh, I'll throw $50,000 into it. Is that going to make the difference? No, not really. It's, again, every buyer is another step in the right direction towards putting the price up. But we're still waiting for the retail market to push this. Most retail investors can't get in through this. Most aren't accredited investors. So realistically, it's going to have a small impact. It's going to be more people with money trying to buy XRP than there were yesterday, or in fact 3 days ago when it launched. So that's good news. It can never be bad news. The promotional side of it, it's, you know, this news spreads like wildfire. People are sat there on their X account reading the financial press. It's been on Bloomberg, it's been on Yahoo's financial site. To say this, they might go, oh, what's XRP that suddenly got a trust with Grayscale? They'll do a bit of research, they might decide to buy some. It's going to have an impact. I don't think it's going to have the impact some people think until we see this ETF come on. So yes, it's definitely positive. Yes, it's going to drive people towards at least the research stage of investing in XRP. Yes, it's a definite positive, but I think it still will take longer until this case with the SEC is done and dusted finally. Whether that means they've appealed and we're another year down the line and there is an answer to that appeal, or whether that means they don't bother to appeal and Ripple pay the fine, or whether that means there's some kind of settlement between them. I think that stage has passed now, but the case settles. When the case is done and we all know the outcome, then I think we'll see the regulatory side of things come in and we'll see the ETF pushing it quite quickly. It's definitely a positive stage. It's a step along that ladder. Yesterday we weren't on the ladder at all. Today we're on the first step. That's the way I see it. What's it going to mean to us? Hopefully it means a little bit more interest in the retail market. Hopefully it means a bit more good news on the back of some of the bad news recently. We get September out of the way. That's something we always call it in the traditional finance space. September, there's always a market slip in every market. Why? Mainly because people go on holiday and don't trade so much. In my honest opinion, now it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy years later. Everyone knows September slips, so people take their trades off the market. They don't want to be in the markets knowing it's going to slip. They take it off, they let the world slip, they get back in for a better price. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, a bit like the crypto cycles, the 4-year cycle. Everybody knows that at the end of the bull run, we start the downward trend. And so those who know pull out. The newbies don't pull out, right? The newbies buy in, get stuck for 4 years, and next time round learn their lesson. It's part of the cycle. So same thing. We all know that September is September. The markets slip, the markets dip, and we'll see that turn around in October anyway. I think the Fed meeting this month will certainly, it's coming up this weekend actually, give or take. We're very close to that. I think they will definitely reduce rates. I think there will be a bit of a shock that they reduce it by less than anticipated. I think most people are expecting half a basis point. I think it'll be just 0.25. Sorry, 0.5%, 0.25. But that's okay. That's okay. You know, a reduction in the interest rates will definitely help. The increase in liquidity is already coming back into the markets. We can see it. So all of this is going to work towards driving money back into the investment world, driving the prices of all investments up, and crypto is an investment. So we'll see all of that work in our favor. I think that will have a bigger impact, really, than this trust. I actually do. But in the same respect, all news is good news. All positive news is positive news. That's what we're after. That's what we're looking at here. Definitely a good thing, guys. I hope that helped answer a couple of questions. I appreciate I didn't do a deep dive into how it works. That's not what this is for. If you want me to do a deeper dive, I can. Pop a comment. But realistically speaking, I'd encourage you to do your own deep dive. Go and have a look into it. Go and see what it means. Go and have a look at Grayscale. Jump onto X. There's some really great researchers on there. I've no doubt guys like Smoke Dog will do a big deep dive. Chad Steingribe will do a big deep dive on this. Have a look what they've got to say. In the meantime, guys, I've been yapping on for 25 minutes now, so I really appreciate you staying with me all the way through. As I say, if you like what I say today, please do punch that like button. Please drop me a comment. The comments are more important because that tells me what you really think, what you want me to do. Ask me if you want me to do a video on something else next. But in the meantime, I really do appreciate you being here. Thanks very much. All the best and have a great day. Nick.